purpose of the Bluecoat doing this project is that the young people should feel, you know, a sense of ownership of this story, a sense of connection to their history in Liverpool as a port city, and sort of how that influences the experiences that they have today.
We are the oldest building in Liverpool that's still standing. It goes back over 300 years. And although the school that originally occupied the building left in 1906, we own the building, we're custodians, and we feel that we have a right to tell the story of the school. So what does it mean for those young people to be aware of that history?
So I operate as the 18th century specialist on the project. Again, obviously bringing some of those 18th century connections of the school's formative years into the present, looking at colonial legacies, where some of the money is coming from for the school's funding, and its connections to Liverpool's mercantile community. And again, this feeds into the wider project. The 18th century school underpins the Echoes and Origins project, and I'm able to obviously bring some of the buildings past into the present and highlight some of these connections. If
you go back to the mid-80s, that was when we started working with that emerging generation of young black British artists. So we're in this exhibition, we're showing it's like a sort of documentary part of it. We're showing just some of the exhibitions through posters, through photographs, through documentation of artists that have engaged with these histories, either through exhibitions or performances. And that's really important that it's not just something that's just come out from nowhere. This is a history that's got, 40 years we've been working with artists that are interested in these themes.
I would say as well that feeds into some of the internal conversations that we're having at Bluecoat. And I think the conversations with the young people, with the artists, and then just structurally as well, have been really important to sort of bounce back and forth and help guide this project and put it out there to the public.
The project was written before Black Lives Matter, and so would have already been delivered before Black Lives Matter. Actually, probably Black Lives Matter came around when this project would have probably been coming to its end. And so, yeah, the discussion that we had was, did Black Lives Matter open up a space for young people and for people to be more vocal? I think it did. So probably, maybe COVID helped us in one way, that the project did start later, and therefore has been highlighted in this time, and has helped because, yeah, people are more forthcoming and feel that they can open their mouths more and say more without feeling, oh, I should have said it, or I don't want to get involved. So maybe the two things have worked together.
This project has grown really organically, and having the partnership with the Greenhouse project, having Envy sort of feeding the community in Liverpool 8 and beyond, that has been really important in terms of getting young people interested in the project. And then in terms of like the workshops and the understanding that we've developed, just having different local artists come and bring their perspectives in, being able to go out to the local cultural organisations, and I've been able to like listen to the interests and the backgrounds of the young people and really focus on those and take the project in places that have been interested. We had Curtis Watt come and do some drumming and talk about, how he uses his life story to influence his words. They got to perform some poetry, and that really sparked some ideas for them, and I think they really enjoyed that kind of experience of how to communicate some of the things that they haven't been able to communicate in other ways. Going from that workshop and creating this part of the public programme to do a courtyard poetry event, I think is going to be really special. Food has been important in our workshops. So we had Abraham from Yamtree come and do a little workshop. He talked about sort of Indigenous African foods, bringing in sort of the pre-colonial story into to give that context to what we're talking about. And health and well-being have been, themes that have run through the project as well.
My understanding of this project with the Colonial Legacies and the Bluecoat was that we wanted to tie together the history, the colonial history, and also the school element of the Bluecoat together. So that's why we decided on to make an actual, it's quite literal, a Bluecoat. And also we wanted to put together the unravelling history. So that's why it's like a very, very long trail on the coat. So the design was based on the traditional uniforms that they wore. So we had a lot of reference images that we used to create the coat and the style of the collar. The length was very long. It was about 3.5 meters of fabric, and it's all one continuous piece that I've like hand cut, which took a very long time. The buttons are handmade, medieval inspired buttons. So it was kind of, it's self-fabricated buttons where the fabric stuffs itself and then you hand stitch them on. So it's something that probably would have been used during that time period as well. So the coat was made from cotton, which had ties to the slave trade. So that's why we chose that. And obviously blue for the Bluecoat.
I've never been to the Bluecoat school, but I live close to it because I live in Wavertree, and Tavia said that there's like this giant picture of Blundell, like just hanging in the school, and there's like this, like a Bible or something underneath it. Bit dodgy to me, a lot dodgy to me, because I know people who go to Bluecoat, and I've never heard that. I've never heard of like a school having like a giant picture of somebody who like helped with the slave trade in the middle of their school, especially with it being, I think it's quite diverse in that school. I feel like it's a really bad idea to keep that up.
Meeting Ash and Ella, who were doing the hyperfiction, it's something that I'd never heard of before. And because, I mean, I like games and stuff, and obviously being a child, given that it's something for a child to do, and it's a more fun way of displaying history, it's been really interesting to be a part of that.
You grow up never realising that there's like a career path within the arts. And I think us just going in and being like, oh, we're digital artists, and like showing them what we do, and if they can be like, oh, maybe, I don't know, it's a fun thing to do and a fun thing to...
Like hyperfiction, hyper refers to like hyperlinks, and fiction obviously story, and the player or reader can move through like clicking on different parts of a passage, so the story moves through the building, and through each interaction they learn something else about the building and its connection to the transatlantic.
Especially with the teaching them the coding element, that's something that I kind of, when they'd jump up and start just like typing away and like you'd see that they got it, that was boss.
So I think that the most impactful experience that I've had was going to the Maritime Museum, because I was able to learn a bit more about Liverpool's history to do with the slave trade and stuff, especially with some of the artefacts that they had, such as there was some white rags that were covered in blood, and there was also chains with bones and stuff, and there were chains for children, and it was a very emotional experience.
How did it like feel being in the building? Because obviously, like when you first got there, you sort of see the outside and you don't really know much, but maybe you have an idea. But like when you find out a bit more about it, does it change how you feel?
It changes my like perspective of it. Because when you first look at it, it's like a bit of it looks like a museum from the outside, but then you walk in, it's like seems all casual, and you see everyone like talking and stuff like that. It's like seems a bit fun, yeah.
Yeah, me too. It seemed a bit intimidating when you first came here, because it's quite big and it's not always that busy, but it's just when you walk in, everyone's kind of looking at you and you don't really know what to do. But now, after being here for a while, it's nice and comfortable, and it's a nice environment to be in.
I've enjoyed a lot of it, to be fair, because I'm learning new stuff that I didn't know before, and yeah, it's good to know a few stuff. Yeah.
Same, really, I've enjoyed a lot of it, learned a lot of new stuff about Liverpool and the Bluecoat building.
I think it's really important. I mean, unfortunately, we don't really learn these types of stuff and like the history of everything and everyone in school, which I think we definitely should. So I guess like this types of like opportunities kind of provide us with that knowledge that we should know at school, but we don't.
Each member's going to get the board game and given like a little chat box as well with some questions in.
And this evening also we'll have food from Ray Ray's. We're going to have a DJ. We've got a lot of people RSVP'd, almost 100.
One of the things I always say is that, because I've done that many projects with young people, to judge whether a young person likes something is whether they keep turning up for it. And when you look at the record of all the young people on this project, they turn up every session. That means that they're enjoying what they're doing. And, you know, only they can tell you themselves the journey that they've been on. I personally can look at them and say, I know, because again of my experiences of these type of projects, what these projects do for young people. Sometimes you can ask a young person, what's it done? And they can go all quiet and say, oh yeah, it was good and it was all right. But if you ask that young person in 5 years' time about that project, you'll get a totally different answer.
So it's a rich programme, you know, there's that, and of course you can go online and see the alternative Bluecoat Heritage Tour, which is great. And of course the exhibition's on for about 3 months, so there's plenty of time for people to come and absorb themselves in these, you know, they're difficult narratives, but I think what's come out of this is a real positivity in the young people. I mean, last night they were absolutely buzzing because they saw their voices.
So I hope that out of this project, the young people will, first of all, feel that they have, you know, a group where they're able to talk about these histories and come together. I hope that they'll feel comfortable within the Bluecoat to, you know, see themselves there and see themselves represented, see their names on the wall of the exhibition they've just put up, and be able to celebrate the public programme that they're putting on.